Good morning, class. How are you?
Great. How are you?
How are you?
Great. So, what if I told you that the clothes that you wear, the music that you listen to, and the things that you genuinely enjoy doing could land you in jail for 18 years? According to my survey, 100% of this class owns at least one black t-shirt. On average, 63% of you enjoy heavy metal music. And on average, the average amount of black t-shirts that you guys own is 12. That is the average number in this class. These are the facts that landed 3 teenage boys in jail for 18 years in 1993. What they like to listen to, what they wore, and their off-script interests. I'm going to read you exact testimony in a trial that convicted one of these boys. Your Honor, it is my understanding that part of the satanic involvement deals with obsession with heavy metal music, changing forms of dress, wearing all black, and that kind of thing. And Your Honor, I believe the proof would show that he, the defendant, owns, I want to say, 15 black t-shirts with the heavy metal thing. That's all. It's exact testimony that landed one of these boys in jail. In total, I have watched, listened, and researched this case for over 40 hours, watched 4 documentaries, read 2 books, and listened to a 6-hour podcast. Today I will persuade you to grant Damian Eccles, Jason Miskelly, and Jason Baldwin a new trial. They are known as the West Memphis 3, the 3 boys that got convicted of a terrible murder. According to my survey, 94% of this class has never heard of this case. So let's start from the beginning. Today I will be talking to you about the murders at Robin Hood Hills, who the West Memphis 3 are, opposing viewpoints, famous notoriety that the 3 received, the plea that set them free, and why they deserve a new trial. So like I said, let's start at the beginning. The murder at Robin Hood Hills. May 5th, 1993 was the last day anybody saw Michael Moore, Chris Byers, and Stevie Branch. In West Memphis, Arkansas, these 3 8-year-old boys were riding their bikes and they were never seen again. The next morning, they were found murdered, naked, hogtied, and thrown into a creek bed in the wooded area by police. It shook this small Arkansas town to its core. After 6 weeks of not one suspect, one lead, or any real evidence, the West Memphis police force were scrambling, and they needed perpetrators to convict of this terrible murder. That is where the West Memphis 3 came in. These 3 boys were big fans of Metallica, liked satanic type books, which include Stephen King, which I think is a great author, and other things of that nature. Besides having minorly similar tastes, none of these 3 boys have nothing in common. They weren't good friends. They never really hung out with each other. However, this town targeted them for no other reason than they were a little weird. This case was founded on a fallacy, the fallacy of red herring. Look over here while it has absolutely nothing to do with the case. When the prosecution needed a viewpoint, they chose satanic worship. They brought in experts to say that the murders of these 3 8-year-old boys were satanic in nature, and that these 3 teenage boys were the perpetrators. Opposing viewpoints. So how did they even settle on these 3 boys? Well, Jesse Miskelly, who's this one right here, he confessed to these murders and tied Damian Eccles and Jason Baldwin into these murders. However, Jesse Miskelly has an IQ of 72. He has the reading comprehension and the mind of a 3rd grader. According to Allison Reddick, author of Double Jeopardy and the Interrogation Room for Youths with Mental Illness, featured in American Psychology, mental illness is a risk factor for false confessions. research and studies of false confessions have revealed several common factors. Young age and mental impairment lead the pack. Also, according to Saul Kaysen, author of Why Confessions Trump Innocence, once a suspect confesses, police often close the investigation, deem the case solved, and overlook exculpatory information, even if the confession is internally inconsistent, contradicted by external evidence, or the product of a coerced interrogation, which were all facts in this case. Jesse gave the police several statements before the recorded confession, all not matching up with the facts of the case, and he was fed this information to try to get the police what they wanted, a confession. However, the confession was taped and reviewed in court, and it put Damien, Jason, and Jesse at the scene of the crime. And it did ultimately convict the three boys. Another opposing viewpoint that was featured in trial, this knife. The knife apparently used to kill the three boys. Jason Baldwin's mom, told the police of a knife that she found in her son's room a year before the murders. She threw it in the river behind his house. She told the police this because she believed what every mother believed. If you tell the truth, then your child will benefit from the justice system. He didn't hurt these boys, and so he will be set free. However, that was not the case. The divers went into the river behind his house, found this knife, and never fleshed out the fact that this knife was thrown in there a year before. The the wounds on the small boys were not infected by a knife of this manner. And like I said, the knife was in the river at the time of this crime. However, with 3 public defenders, the boys' lawyers did not look into these charges or these claims, and so this knife became the murder weapon. Another opposing viewpoint, Damien Echols' behavior at the trial. Like a lot of 18-year-old boys who, again, put a lot of faith in the justice system, he believed that these police officers, the lawyers, and the judge were all full of crap. He didn't do anything, and so he didn't think that he would be sent to jail for these crimes, much less put to death. He exhibited inappropriate behavior, flipping off a lot of the police and news reporters, and even fake crying at the victims' families. All behavior that is disgusting, but also does not lead to a murder. Damien Echols was, as the ringleader, sentenced to death by the Arkansas justice system. Jesse and Jason were charged with 1 count first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder and given life in jail plus 40 years. However, after HBO documentaries Paradise Lost started airing about this case and about false confessions and how the Satanic Panic put these boys in jail, they started getting famous notoriety. That's Damien Echols, and that's Johnny Depp. They had a Free the West Memphis 3 support fund, and lawyers were taking on this case pro bono to show new evidence and the fact that all of the charges put upon these boys were circumstantial at best. So in 2011, the West Memphis 3 accepted an offered plea that set them free. According to the U.S. legal definition, in an offered plea, the criminal defendant does not admit the act, but admits the prosecution could likely prove their charge. So the court will pronounce the defendants guilty. The defendant may plead guilty, yet not admit all of the facts that comprise the crime. And an offered plea allows the defendant to plead guilt while also unwillingly not admitting guilt to the same crime. So in short, you're saying that you're guilty, but not that you did it, however, that a jury could find you guilty. So on August 19, 2011, the West Memphis 3 took an offered plea. They pleaded guilty to the murders. They swear they did not commit. It was a way to let the 3 innocent men out of prison after 18 years. They took the plea and they could leave that day. However, They allowed the men to leave without the bother and embarrassment of exonerating them and admitting fault for the Arkansas Police Department. It had absolutely nothing to do with who killed those 3 innocent 8-year-old boys in 1993, and it had nothing to do with right or wrong, guilt or innocence. So I believe that the West Memphis 3 deserve a new trial, a trial that will exonerate them, that will say that they are not guilty of these 3 murders. I believe this because they deserve to have their name cleared, as well as to reopen the case. With an offered plea, they are considered guilty, and so the case is closed unless new evidence comes to light. So by giving them a new trial, saying that they are not guilty, they can open and try to find the real person or persons that murdered those 3 boys on May 5th, 1993. So today I spoke about the murders at Robin Hood Hills, the trial, conviction, and notoriety of the West Memphis 3, opposing viewpoints of how they landed in jail for 18 years and why those points are somewhat mute, and why they deserve a new trial. So today I hope I persuaded you to join the fight to get the West Memphis 3 a new trial and receive justice for Damian Eccles, Jason Baldwin, Jesse Miskelly, and most importantly, Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, the 3 victims of the Robin Hood killings, and hopefully actually get justice for those 3 boys and their families.